Hi, welcome to Surviving Together, where we see you, we hear you, and we believe you. I wanted to speak today a little bit about grooming. Um, First off, no, it can happen to anyone at any age. This is child or adult. What I'm going to be speaking to today is more geared towards child, and I will be doing an entire separate video about adult grooming because it is a little different. The scenarios, the contexts are different, and I think it's really important to list those types of details so that you understand what could happen and where it could happen and how it could happen. So, first off, let's start. What is grooming? Grooming is the process by which a predator, gains the trust of a child or the family in order to start a sexual relationship with that child. There's a certain there's certain common characteristics with grooming. Some people break them down differently. Some people speak to them in a different number of points. So I'm just going over kind of the grooming basics, what's common amongst most everybody's definition of grooming, and the stages of grooming and what happens. Hi, Shannon. Hi, my other's keeper. I am so happy to see both of you. Oh, certainly. I'd be willing to come on to your channel, Kim, and talk about this. Absolutely. And we can talk about child and or adult. Sorry, I'm not sitting as tall as I normally do. My sciatica is acting up a little bit today, guys. So if I don't chit chat as much as I normally do, and just kind of stick to the subject matter, please forgive me. And I might be a little wiggly because of it. So Tammy, absolutely, 100%. I am so happy that you're saying that. Okay. Self-care is so important. And if this is a triggering subject for you, if this is difficult to deal with, skip it. Okay. We'll see you on the next one. I always, always want you guys to put yourself first. And if that means stepping out and not watching it all, that's fine. If you could still like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. Double check your subscriptions, even if you have subscribed, guys, because I notice my numbers keep kind of going up and down. They go up one and down one and up one and down one. It's really kind of strange. So just check your status, make sure your bell notifications is on all still. Sometimes that can get changed to different things and then you won't get the notifications. Tammy, please take care of yourself and I will speak to you later. So thank you, Tammy. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Kim, that's fine. That is absolutely fine. You can watch replay. Sometimes it's more comfortable for people to watch on replay because you can stop it and start it if you become overwhelmed. Maybe something that you want to listen to, but you need to take it in bite-sized pieces. And that's okay too. I'm going to stop for 1 second, guys. And I don't know what I did with my other lip balm. I am learning. Okay. I always have to have water and I have to have lip balm on. For some reason, when I'm talking like this, my lips become so chapped. Speaking, I have no idea why. 7th, so glad you could join us. I have just started, really. I'm going to speak about this first. I have some other housekeeping issues to take care of, but I really want to wait until we get a few more people on before I do that. First off, just let me say, anybody have any issues that they need to talk about? Everybody doing okay? Anybody else get the torrential rainstorms that we did here today? I was speaking with Mary Jones and Blessed Crochet, and she said that they got a tornado warning down where she was. They said it was a possibility here, but Michigan so rarely ever gets tornadoes. It's just not. Tammy, that's fine. And if you find that you can't do the replay, that's okay too. All right. There are subjects that are okay to skip until you're ready for them. And that may be a year down the road, and that's okay. I never want anyone to feel bad because they can't get through a subject that they think maybe they should, or they want to listen to it because they want to help me and the numbers and all that kind of stuff. Just let it run on your computer and walk away. If that's what you want to do, if it's not about the content itself, because you can't do it, just let it run and go. Okay. Please always take care of yourselves first. I have friends with this type of content that we've gone over and over with, and they get through a certain point and they just can't go any further. It's just too overwhelming for them. And that is okay. And they've tried to get through the same amount of stuff over and over and over again, and they just hit a wall. That's where their barrier is. So that's the comfort level, that's the healing that they're going to have to pass in order to hear the rest of that information. Again, that's okay. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but you need to know it, and you need to hear it, and you need to believe it. Okay? Okay. We're just going to stay with okay today. That's a big word for me. You wish you could stay with 1 a.m. Dodry, I completely understand. I hope you're doing well. And we'll catch you later. Like and subscribe. Check your subscription just in case it's gone. Bye-bye. We seem to have more trouble on surviving the cracks than I am having here, but yeah. Sorry, I'm spacing. It's been a rough day, guys. It's really been a rough day with work. I've been between work and between projects, and we were getting stuff going, and then things weren't loading, and then that project ended, and I was trying to get with another one, and that project manager had a family emergency, and it was just one thing after another. And I was like, I just need to work. I have to pay my bills. So finally at 3:00, we got the work through, and I still had more work that I wanted to do for the channel for this live tonight. I've come to you guys too many times going, you know what? I just don't have anything planned. I was so good in the beginning, and then I kind of fell off the wagon a little bit with that. And I wanted to have a topic that we could speak about. So in case you missed it, we are speaking about grooming. It's not for everybody. So if at any point you need to drop off, please do. So there are a number of common stages of grooming, and I'm going to go over them. I'm going to list them first so you kind of get an overview as to what that is, and then I'll go through more specifics. And if anyone has anything to add or has questions, feel free to throw it in the chat. And I am getting a little bit better at being able to manage both at the same time. So what are the stages of grooming? And again, contextually, we're going to be speaking in terms of children. First off is identifying the victim. The perpetrator is going to want to pick that one out. Second is gaining trust and access to the child. And that can be done a number of ways, and we'll talk about that. 3 is becoming important to the child by giving them something that they need. 4 is beginning to isolate them. Next is secrecy of the relationship, secrecy about what they do, what they talk about. Then they're sexualizing the relationship. Notice how many steps they've gone through with this grooming before they've gotten to sexualizing the relationship. Now, granted, all of these steps do not have to happen in precisely this order. The last one is control control over the relationship, control over the child. So sexualizing the relationship may happen very early, and we'll speak about that and why that is. So let's just begin. Identifying a victim. How does a perpetrator identify a victim? What are they looking for? Well, depends on the perpetrator. It could be age, it could be gender, it could be what they look like, the physical characteristics that they have. They like somebody who's blonde. They like somebody who is blue-eyed. Age-wise, they like somebody who is 6 and under. They like 6 to 10. They like that preteen. Or maybe they like the 13 to 15, when they're just really kind of coming into knowing their bodies and their bodies are really changing and they're very curious. That's an age that some perpetrators like. Normally, and this isn't always the case, and this can be very difficult for the police, for law enforcement when they get involved, but normally somebody is going to stick to a particular type, an age, a gender. It doesn't have to be, though. There are some perpetrators, they don't care if they're male or female, they just like a certain age group. But usually you'll find it's always going to be girls between the ages of 8 and 12. And we'll talk about how that differs in the adults when we do adult grooming. Beyond just this, there's an aspect that all perpetrators are looking for, and that's vulnerability. Are they vulnerable because they're shy and they don't have any friends? They don't have high self-esteem. They just moved here and they don't know anyone. They're vulnerable because their parents aren't around a lot. And so they're a latchkey kid. They're often left alone. All of these things, nothing but ripples, absolutely. And that's something I'm going to speak about a little bit later, actually, 7th, is nothing but ripples. And remind me, okay, it's very important. There's 2 things that I need to speak to you guys about. I'm hoping some other people pop in a little later, and I need to make sure that I make these announcements. So being vulnerable, all the perpetrators are going to want somebody who's vulnerable, somebody who's more docile. They don't want the strong, confident kid. They don't want the kid who's got self-esteem. They don't want the kid who's always got friends around them, whose parents are very active and involved in their lives. They're much harder to be able to control, to do the grooming process with. So they're always going to look for the easy picking fruit, those vulnerable people. Next, gaining trust and access to the child. Now, this doesn't always have to be directly through the child. This can be done by grooming the parents, gaining access and trust through the parents. So being incredibly helpful to the parents. They work a lot. I'll take them home from b-ball practice. You're having an issue, I'll pick them up and take them to school, or bring them home from school, or sit with them for a few hours until you get home, whatever the case may be. So they're inserting themselves into the lives of the family unit, of the child. So either the family unit or the expanded circle of people, so that it appears their presence there is absolutely normal. They're helpful. You can trust them. If they say they're going to show up, they do show up. If they say they're going to take care of the child, they do take care of the child. And by doing these things, they are gaining trust of the child as well, because they see that, well, mom can't, dad can't, this person is. And wow, am I thankful that they're taking me to practice. Otherwise, I'd never be able to get there, or take me home from practice. Otherwise, I'd have a really long walk, whatever the case may be. Next, becoming important to the adult and giving them something, becoming important to the adult and or child, because again, it can go through either way, right? And giving them something that they need. Now, this can be tangible. It can be tangible in the terms of help, assistance, like we were just speaking about. So these two can kind of get conflated together and be happening all at the same time. It can be money, whether they're giving it to the child or to the adult, helping out with rent, buying some groceries, whatever it is, giving small gifts to the child, giving them the sports equipment that they couldn't afford, or that video game system that they'd never have, something that they've really had their eye on. This person can constantly be giving you things and giving you something special, giving you those things that you feel that you really want. Because as kids, right, those gifts, those tangible things, those are wants, those are needs. I need this, right? How many times have you heard that from your own children? I need this. Make them wait 3 weeks and see if they still need it then. Usually that's past, but it's being a kid. It can also be emotional. Some people just need friendship. They need that emotional support. They need to feel loved. Maybe they're neglected at home. Maybe they're being physically abused at home. So being able to hide out at this person's house, if they're a neighbor right down the street, being able to go over there and play in their video game systems, or jump on their trampoline, or play in their pool, or whatever it is. They're getting away from mom or dad or big brother or sister, whoever it is who's harming them or not giving them emotionally what they need. And they're very, very good. These predators are excellent at picking out what the child needs. And why? Because the child will tell you. As you're gaining their trust, as you're talking to that child, they are eliciting responses from the child, and it's all designed to find out information that they can use. See, grooming is really almost another word for manipulation. It's just a process, but it uses manipulation throughout. So there's not a lot of guesswork that really needs to happen on the part of the perpetrator, because most kids, they're open books, especially the vulnerable ones. When you start giving them what they need and you start gaining that trust, they're going to tell you what's going on at home. They're going to tell you what's wrong at school. They're looking for that support, whether it's emotional or physical, tangible support that this person can give. And so they're going to give them the information that they need in order to give them that support. They also may say, along with that, particularly when they're giving emotional support, I'm the only one who understands you this way. Yeah, I know you have a best friend, and I know you think that he or she understands you sometimes, but really, I get you on such a deeper level, or just, I'm the only one who's going to be able to keep all these secrets for you. Making themselves indispensable, making the child feel like this is the only person that they can turn to. And thus begins isolation of the child. this person, the perpetrator, becomes so important in their lives that they'll turn to them for nearly everything. Whether it's the physical things that they need, the tangible things that they need, but the perpetrator will discover those ways that they can be alone with the child. Whether that's that ride to or from practice, whether it's babysitting for a few hours so that single mom can go on a date, whatever the situation is, they want to get that child alone. So when we say isolate, it's going to be a little bit different when we talk about it in the adult context than it is for the child context. So for here, we're only talking about just physically getting them alone. It doesn't need to isolate them from the rest of the people in their lives at all, but just having alone time with them. Next is secrecy. They need to ensure that the child is not going to tell. And how do they do that? Well, they can say that, no one else is going to understand this relationship like you and I do, and if you tell somebody, they might think it's weird and we're not going to be able to spend time together anymore. And at this point, this person's become a significant part of their lives to the point where they can't imagine not having this person in their lives. Because if they don't, well, they're not going to be able to get that love, or they're not getting those physical gifts. Because most of the time it may start with physical gifts, but it's going to develop into that emotional, because that's a binder, Yeah, getting stuff physically, that's going to attach the child to you as well, because they like getting things and they want to continue to get gifts. But at some point, I think it's a little easier to break away if all you're getting is physical things. And you have not developed an emotional attachment to the perpetrator. So convincing the child that they have to keep this secret. Maybe because no one's going to believe you. No one's going to believe you if you tell anybody that we have this. And I'm going to jump the gun a little bit and talk about the next one, kind of in concert with this. And next is sexualizing the relationship. And so the secrecy can also come at that point where they've already begun the abuse, or they've already begun the abuse, but it might not have gone sexual yet, to the point where maybe the child is a little uncomfortable. And the sexualization of the relationship is that normalization, so they won't get uncomfortable. But if they do get uncomfortable, that's where they can kind of lapse back to that secrecy aspect and say, if you tell anybody, I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to kill your parents, or your pet dog, or myself. I'm going to kill myself. You can't leave. You can't leave me. I mean, it can get to that point. Literally, the perpetrators will tell you anything in order to keep the secret and not have it exposed. Because once the secret's exposed, usually that's the end of it. And they're going to have to move on, or they're getting caught, hopefully. So sexualizing the relationship, what are we talking about with this? We're talking about normalizing touch. We're talking about normalizing nakedness. We're talking about then normalizing sexual touch and sexual acts. And this Also, as the grooming process is very slow, so is the sexualization of the relationship. So this piece can start very early, as I said before. A hand on the knee, a back rub after sports practice, a foot rub, any type of touching that in that context seems perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And it may graduate to, okay, instead of standing there rubbing, why don't you come here, sit between my legs? It's going to be much easier for me to get to your back that way. Why don't you take your shirt off? I can get to your muscles. It's hard to do it through, through this. So they're gradually making the child feel more comfortable with them without clothes. So it's not going to just happen all at once, but they'll go little by little. It can be those accidental touches on genitalia or the chest area if it's a slightly older child, either a preteen who's been developing or a teen. Again, it can be a sports context, that pat on the butt that they always give them, right? Perfectly normal. It's done all the time. I think it's going away. If it hasn't gone away, it's been a while since I've been in that arena. But I think that more people recognize that it could potentially be a piece of the grooming, and so let's take that off. There's no reason that player needs to be swatted on the butt. You can swat him on the arm or the shoulder just as well and get your point across, go get them. No reason it has to be on their butt. Depending on the child's age, it could be bathing the child. It could be changing for swimming. It could be changing for bed. And so these types of contexts are also going to include the nakedness of the perpetrator. Boy, it's really hot in here today. The air conditioning must not be working. Whew, I got to take my shirt off. And again, perpetrators can be male or female. So what they do and how they do it can differ in different contexts. So think of these in your mind. What would a female do? And a female doesn't have to be female on male. It can be female on female. It can be guy on guy. It can be, any of these combinations. We tend to limit ourselves to thinking of a male perpetrator and a young girl. Nowadays, we're starting to think about it again in terms of a young boy. But it's a male perpetrator still. And granted, the vast majority of sexual predators are male. The vast majority. But we cannot discount that other portion, because that's especially how the adult male survivors have felt. Just kind of brushed off to the side as insignificant. That's another piece that I talked about. I had an episode where we spoke about male survivors, but I want to do a little bit more of a deeper dive into adult male survivors, particularly because the guilt and the shame and the stigma that they suffer is just so much more than any other category, any other child, age, or gender, sexual orientation. And it's so unfortunate that they're not treated the same as everybody else. So after they have successfully sexualized the relationship, and also one of the big ways that they can do this too is just playing on kids' natural curiosity, right? Kids play doctor. Well, they get to know the parts of the body. They have their own parts of the body. What do these things do? Oh, the adult has the same body part. If they're, say they're both males. Oh, really? Wow, yours is so much bigger than mine. It's just that innocence, just that straight curiosity for that younger child. For that developing child, that preteen and that early teens, that's their body is changing, and then their hormones are going crazy and they don't know what to do. And hey, this is normal. And it is absolutely, all that stuff is normal. But that perpetrator, that predator is going to twist that into this is normal. What we have is normal. This is just an outlet for what you're feeling. I'm just somebody who's a little bit older who happens to be, showing you the ropes, taking you through this process. And society won't understand this. So we need to keep this hush hush. The last stage is control, total control, physically and emotionally, of the child. Once you have gone through all these steps, most of the time that child is going to stay, whether it's out of fear, shame, guilt. Maybe that predator is helping mom out with groceries all the time, or her car payment so she can still get to work. And if I don't keep doing this, mom's not going to have that. So this is what I have to do in order to help the family. How incredibly sad, how horrid of a position to put a child into. I'm going to start getting really angry here, and I don't need to, but it really burns me. It just absolutely burns me. Control is what sexual assault is all about. It's about being able to control. That is the ultimate high for them. It's not the sex. Let me say that again for anybody who happens to watch this who doesn't understand this. Sexual abuse, single sexual assault, it is not about the sex. It is not about that sexual gratification. Now, there can be a piece of that, but it's about the control that they have over that child, that they can do this whenever they want because they have such a hold on that child. This is why it is so incredibly important that we are involved in our kids' lives, that we know our children, so that when they start acting different, when the abuse starts to occur, even before the sexual abuse has started to occur, we can see that. We can see that pattern. And I'm going to speak in a separate video about what to look for. What as parents are we going to look for in a child to see that they're being groomed? Because there are certain telltale signs, and not every child is going to exhibit each one of those. But there are definitely certain things that if you see it, get your red flags up. So I hope that just gives you a little bit of an overview as to the basics of grooming and how it happens, how these sexual predators are able to keep abusing a child for 6 months, 2 years, 10 years as they grow. And remember, the sexual predator I'm speaking of, I've often been giving scenarios of people outside the home, but this is people inside the home as well. So think of a mother or a father or an older brother or sister. The same type of thing is going to happen when they're being groomed. Also, not all sexual abuse, grooming is not a precursor to all sexual abuse, is what I want to say. It's one of the most common ways, because by taking it in increments, you're almost assured of gaining that trust and that access and that ultimate control over that child. Because usually they've ingratiated themselves into the family as well. And they become so helpful and such a wonderful person that they're like, what? He was doing what? I trusted him implicitly with my child. I've heard that over and over again. So, but grooming doesn't have to. You do have the snatch and grabs. You do have the interfamily where it just happens. There's no grooming process. There's no lead up. It's just, bam, there's a sexual assault. I'm feeling that this is a difficult subject for most of you. I don't know. I'm not on my channel right now, so I don't know how many lurkers we have, but the chat has gone silent for my entire talk. And that's okay. That's okay. If this is a video that most of you have to put aside for a later date, that's fine. I did not start this channel to get views for views' sake. I started this channel to get views because that means I'm reaching a lot of people. The more people we can reach, the more people hopefully we can help. Whether that's helping them just not feel alone, whether that's helping them connect with somebody else so they can go, oh my gosh, you experienced that too. I didn't think that happened. Whether it's helping them heal through that connection, through the information that they're getting from the channel and from these discussions. However this channel helps you, that's my goal. I want a space where you can come and feel comfortable to share, to make friends, just to lurk, to just be, to just know if you wanted to, you could reach out. But you're okay just kind of, being on the outskirts, on the outside, looking in a little bit. If you ever decide to pop in and say hi, pop in, say hi, pop right back out. Do never feel like you have to stay in a chat because you've shown yourself. Other channels, people have done this, and then they found that they tend to pop in a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then they're involved in the chat. But if that never is you, that's okay too. If you always just want to watch on replay, that is fine as well. So I don't know if we even have anybody left in the live or if everyone is gone, but I did have a couple of things that I wanted to announce. I will repeat this again on Saturday. I may even just make a little short video of 5 minutes just of these announcements. As I'm thinking about it, I probably will. Maybe not tonight, but tomorrow. Two major things. One, contest time. And by contest, I mean the naming of our greater Ripple community. Rippled community, however you want to say it. Nothing but ripples. Seventh, you need to email Spanx, and he is collecting them all. It makes sense because the lifeboat is the biggest audience, so they do get the most people there. So he has been collecting names. People have just already been shooting them in. I'm calling it a contest. It's not an official contest. What do you win? Bragging rights that you chose, the name you wanted got chose. That's all you get. But that's pretty cool, because then we're going to mock up a logo. So just like you see my surviving together up there, in my other corner, that has my live counter. I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't think you can, but I think I might want it in this corner so that I can see it all the time. So that's going to be cool. So the next thing will be colors for the logo once we get the name. So if you have any ideas, you want to throw 5 of them in an email and shoot them off to Spanx, it's sober@myyahoo.com. Spanx has taken control of that email. So that is the main way to get a hold of him now. Even though it still says Tommy Scoville on it, that is the link to Spanx. He is 100% monitoring that email for all of lifeboat traffic and anything related to lifeboat traffic. Briefly want to mention that the simulcasting that Spanx had a brief interview or a brief video about earlier today, I tested it out with him, and we got a couple wrinkles, got a couple of issues in there. One being we cannot, the presenter, say myself, cannot be active in both chats. I can only be active in one or the other. I can't be on both at the same time. So that's a little bit of an issue. So he's going to kind of rethink this and see how we might be able to work this differently. So it's still in the works. We just have a few things to figure out to make this go as smoothly as possible. Because it's very important that if we're casting to 2 different audiences, that I am able to see the chat of the people who showed up on my channel and also the chat of the people who showed up on the Lifeboats channel. It's extremely important that I'm able to do that simultaneously. So got to figure that out. Mary Jones of Blessed to Crochet has, there she is. Speak of the devil. She has graciously taken the lead in putting together a schedule of just the people who have scheduled lives like I do, like the Lifeboat does, Needing a Meeting, Conversations with Christy, my other's keeper. We all have just set times that we're at. So we're putting together that will be really helpful as a base for this 24/7. But it's also just going to be really helpful for you guys to be able to look at it and say, okay, beyond this Lifeboat 24/7 stuff, who goes on when? I want to be able to see my other's keeper, but I don't want to have to go, to here and go to their schedule there or try and email them or whatever. So that is going to be really great. Mary is also putting together just a list of all of those channels that are in our greater community. So when that gets finalized, after I've shared it with Spanx, we will open it up and make sure that we didn't miss anybody, because that is the last thing we want to do. We don't want to exclude people, but we do need to make sure that the channel meets our standards, that there is connection, that people are accepted, that there isn't anything that goes on that we would be against. So there is a little bit of a screening process, guys. So just because you have a channel doesn't mean that you're gonna get on there. Just because you started on the lifeboat and then you made a channel doesn't automatically mean that you're going to be able to get the logo and be considered an official part of the greater community. You gotta meet a few steps. Hi, Ann. How you doing? You are just in time for my most important announcement. I went over grooming basics for the first 40 minutes, and so you can catch that on replay. Just speaking of grooming in terms of children, and it's just a very basic overview of kind of what is common, the most common steps that happen. So you can look at that. The most important announcement that I need to make, and I will, as soon as I get done with here, I am going to email Spanx, because I just got it right before I went live, and I will put it in my description as well. Guys, I hope you remember Kelly Blue. She has gone on the lifeboat before to speak about Georgia prisons. Hi, Sandy. How you doing? So glad you could join us tonight. So when we had Tommy here and we were doing comparison of SA trauma versus prison trauma, after Tommy was here, we had Kelly come on and talk about a female perspective. And it was really interesting because it was totally different. The experience, that trauma experience between the men's prison and the women's prison. Kelly, she is also known as Kelly B69. That is her handle. You guys may have noticed you have not seen her lately. She has not been posting to her channel lately. She has had a really rough time. She moved out of her son's place a couple of weeks ago and rented a room. She gave that person the money for the room. I don't know for how long. That person then went to the police and got a restraining order against her, saying that she was going to harm him. She was not allowed back into the house for 3 days. And in that 3 days, that person took absolutely everything she had moved in. Her clothes, her medication, her identification, her mail, everything. She moved back into her son's place with nothing, not even a phone charger. I know there's a lot of people who struggle in this community, and being an outright charity is not something that we are. However, if you feel that you want to help her financially to be able to replace some of the items that she has lost, I am going to link her CashApp in my description. I'm going to give it to Spanx. It's up to him as to whether he's going to make an announcement on the lifeboat or put it up. I don't know, but I will have it here on mine. It breaks my heart. She has been doing nothing but trying to get a leg up. She has been able to apply now for income-based housing to get her own place. So let's keep her in our prayers and our thoughts that comes through for her, and that she is able to actually get that leg up that she wants. She had an unfortunate incident with her son that has now involved the police, and it looks like he might be going away for a while, depending on what happens with these charges. So, and that's just heartbreaking in and of itself because it's her child. So anybody who's still here, if you can throw some ones up for Kelly, whether that's your prayers, whether that's your thoughts, whether that's your love, really want really want to make sure that she knows that we're all thinking of her. We're rooting for her. We want her back in our community. She's just had so much going on that she just hasn't been able to do it. And I, from Surviving Together, am going to throw my ones up there as well. Again, it is totally optional if you send Kelly some financial assistance. Do not feel like you have to, because I know that there are many of you who are in the position of just not being able to. And that is totally okay. I know some of us are in a position that we can send something. And those $5, those dollars, they add up. So my hope is that we can get this out to more people. If you do have a channel of your own and you want to put it up on your channel, if you want to announce it in a video on your channel, that is totally up to you. But you'll be able to copy it from my description here that'll get put up here very shortly. So of everything, I feel that that was my most important announcement that I had to make today, because she is one of us. And she's fought her addiction like most of us have. And she's just trying to get better, right? She's just trying to get to a better place in life, like most of us are. Like all of us are, I hope. Even if you're in a good place, we're always trying to make it just, make it a little bit better, right? Mary said that just before she came on here, she did a stream about what a great responsibility and an honor it is to be considered a ripple. We need to realize that as we're simulcasting from our channel, we're also simulcasting from the lifeboat. So in a way, we're representing the lifeboat. What it's going to mean to be a part of this community is that we have a set of core values, right? We value connection above all else. That is what our channel is trying to foster. That's what it means truly to be a part of this rippled community. My swearing is going to have to come down a notch, which I've really been trying. Surviving the cracks, I don't think will be an official part of the rippled community, because the subject matter that we speak about is going to be all across the board. It's definitely going to be adult content. And I cannot guarantee that either Jen or I will be able to hold our tongues about certain things, and that definitely may include swearing. Ben, I hope you know what we're wanting. Those ones are for Kelly Ballou. You'll do that tomorrow? Great, Mary. So Mary's going to put Kelly's, it's a Cash App, by the way, Cash App link up on her channel tomorrow. Again, even $1, but do not feel like you have to. And don't feel guilty if you don't. All right? Some of us have things in our lives, some of us have people or causes that we're actively supporting with our money, with our time, and we just don't have it to spare to help another person. And again, that's okay. Maybe the only person you're helping is yourself and your own family. That's okay. That's the other thing about this, is never feel guilty for taking care of yourself first. Whether it's your mental health, whether it's your financial health, whether it's your physical health, you should be putting yourself first. Again, it's so cheesy, but it's true. And it's the easiest example to give. On an airplane, what do they always tell you? Put your own oxygen mask on first before you can help somebody else, because you are no good to that person if you keel over mid-help. Okay? So please always take care of yourself first, no matter what it is. Yeah, oh my pearls is right. Definitely. Oh my pearls. So that's really all I've got today. If there's anything anybody needs to say, throw it up in the chat. Ben, if you didn't hear, we're throwing Spanx over at myyahoo.com. Any of our ideas for naming the greater rippled community. 7th is, and a number of people are very fond of nothing but ripples. So it would be an NBR logo. If you have ideas for, regardless of what name goes, if you have an idea for the logo, whether it's colors, whether it's font, how it is, we definitely want to stay away from adding like TV on it, because that's SBTVs. They've got that, and it works perfect for them. We need something a little bit different. Seventh found his YouTube wife. Well, I am so glad. That's awesome. Yes, NBR for nothing but ripples. We'll see how we can push that. So if you're liking that as well, you can tell Spanx that too. He's the gatekeeper, because there are so many more people on the lifeboat who would be chipping in terms of naming it. So throw them all to him. If you cannot remember his email for the life of it, it is in the description of all of the lifeboat videos, but feel free to email me here, survivingtogether, SASS@gmail.com. There's also Surviving the Cracks, which is easy to remember because we have no additional letters. It's just survivingthecracks@gmail.com. That comes all to me and Jen as well. It pops up right in our email descriptions, our email feeds, they all pop up. So we'll get them regardless of where it is. Some of you sink like rocks. Oh, gosh. Well, we're trying to get you to skip those rocks across the pond, right? Isn't that the goal? Be able to walk on water? Nothing but ripples connections. Ben's thankfully that you only got a notification for once today. I am glad you did too. So yeah, everybody make sure that all button, the all bell is clicked. People have been saying that they get unsubscribed less often. Not that it never happens, but less often if that is checked. So make sure that you check your subscription. If you have subscribed to Surviving the Cracks, check that subscription as well. We are gaining and losing followers left and right every day. It seems to be going. I never know who we have from one day to next. So make sure that you're doing that as well. That is really all I got for today, guys. This is, I think, the shortest live that I will have done, unless there's anything that anybody wants to talk about, whether it's essay trauma related or not. It's always on, and you never get unsubscribed, but you rarely get a notification. And wow. And your all bell is on, right? Not the personalized one, I'm assuming. Go YouTube. I know there doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes I will get notified a half an hour ahead of time that the boat or Carol needing a meeting or anybody else who I've subscribed to is going on. And sometimes it's a minute after they start. I have no idea. You have never received it. I always try to make sure that I have them up, even if my thumbnail isn't up. It's just it's just the logo. That's why I put Wednesdays and Saturdays up on like Sunday. So hopefully you guys would at least get a notification when it was getting closer to it. I'm very disappointed. You like my paintings? They're two of my favorites, and that's why I put them back there. They are going to get hung on the wall officially, at least the bigger painting. That is a picture of a dock an actual dock from where I had stayed a number of times in Cayman Brac. And my friend who owned the condo there that the end of the dock was at was able to convince the artist to sell it to her, which was amazing. And the other one I bought in, I do believe it was Curacao. And I just love it because it's the actual picture inside the wood frame is acrylic. And then they just continued out onto the wood frame. And I had never seen anything like that before. I thought that was so cool. So yeah, those are two of my favorites. I'm hoping to get my scuba diving stuff up there as well. So that'll be the background that you guys always see. I may turn the camera once I get everything else up so you can see my different walls. And hoping to have a Taekwondo wall and a Kenya wall with my African themed stuff that I got there. Seven says it wasn't too long ago that you were pitching that you were getting notifications for channel and I was no longer subscribed to. Yeah, right. It's who the frick knows. Spin a bottle, see where it lands. We never have, never know where it's, who's going to do what when. Ben, you're very, very welcome. It's my honor to have this space for you guys. It's my honor to come up here and do this and talk about things, even if we don't end up talking about the topic, you know, like today. This grooming topic's really sensitive for a lot of people, and delving into it at all and talking about it can bring back too many memories of uncomfortable things, and that's okay. I am totally fine with basically giving a lecture, giving a talk for 40 minutes, half an hour, and then just moving on to something else like we did today. Because you can watch it on replay if you choose, in bite-sized pieces if that's what you need, or you can choose to skip this one. It's totally fine. You didn't get no notifications either. Why am I not surprised? Well, so you guys know, so everyone here who is here knows, Wednesdays at 7 Eastern, Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. Those are my locked in times. Unless there is a sign up that says I need to cancel. I've only had to do that once. And it was just a horrible week. And I needed the day off. I needed to be able to take care of some things and to take care of myself. I really will try, no matter how I'm feeling, to come here and do this. Because regardless of how I'm feeling when I start, I'm always feeling better by the time I leave. Just connecting with you guys makes me feel good. It gets all those dopamine receptors going for me. You know, it's one of those things that does it. And that's the purpose of connection, right? Is to make us feel good. So write it down in your calendars. If you missed it, Mary Jones is working on a calendar of all the people who have scheduled lives. So you will be able to look at a calendar and say, oh, okay, I see she goes Wednesdays and Saturdays. This one goes every day at this time and this time. This person goes on Tuesdays and Thursdays at this time. That's always set. And you'll be able to see when everybody goes. We will have a separate schedule when we start going through or using that as a base of the schedule when we start doing the 24/7 lives with the lifeboat and the simulcasting. It's not going to be quite simulcasting because we had a little bit of an issue with that when we tested it out this afternoon. So the idea is still in the works. We're still playing around with it. And yes, Mary, oh gosh, thank you for reminding me. Mary hurt her back yesterday, guys. So support, so prayers, thoughts, you know, whatever you give out with your ones, we're going to give those out for Mary as well. And you know what? These ones, Oh, I did it again. Darn it all, I touched that little button. Shoot. These ones are also for Jen Marie, guys. She was in the ER last night with her fibro pain. She actually had muscle seizures. Thankfully, she was with somebody at the time, not in a car, and they were able to take her to the hospital. She has medication. It's working great. She just needs a lot of rest right now. She may start popping into some chats, but she won't be participating. May just pop in, say hi, all, just so you know I'm here, and that's going to be it. We are hoping to do Surviving the Cracks Saturday at 8 p.m. That may change the day or the time, but right now you will see that scheduled. So if you go to Surviving the Cracks, you will see it scheduled for Saturday, and you're going to see the same fetish picture that I used for yesterday, and I've switched the picture. So it's just me for yesterday since I was only there. So we definitely, you were wondering where Jen was? Yeah. She just, she was hoping maybe to make this, but I knew she was going to sleep a while ago, and I'm hoping she's just sleeping. She slept all through the night last night, which is wonderful. She knows that I'm talking about her. So FYI, guys, just so you don't go, you're leaking all her personal details. No, she knows this. Think so. That's what we're going with right now, Shannon. Until there's another diagnosis, it's the best that we can do. But at least the medication that she has right now is working, and she can take it in such doses that she can avoid the seizures, but not be completely passed out or completely loopy. So, Mary, there's no rush. Again, these are things that are in the works, So if it's 2 weeks from now and you finally, you get me the schedule, it's 2 weeks from now. If it's a month, it's a month. Life happens. And if something is going on where you actually need to pass it off, just let me know. We have lots of other people who are willing to jump in and help out with things. So if you need to pass off the project or part of the project, feel free. And that goes for any of you who volunteer for anything. Okay. Especially as we start to grow, which is my hope. Only because, again, guys, only because I want to reach more people. I want more people to be able to come here and feel the safe space and know that they don't have to talk about their trauma. They don't have to say whether it was SA or whether it was some other significant trauma is the reason that they're here. Because remember, trauma is trauma is trauma. It's the event that can differ. But what we talk about mainly is trauma and the effects from that trauma. It's the same across the board. You never have to reveal what your event was or any of the specifics of that event, but they know that they can come here and they're amongst people who understand. They get it. So if they do decide to disclose, if they do decide to talk about it, they're going to be met with responses that say, I get it. That's horrid. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. People who already know what to say because they've been there and they know what they wanted people to say. I'm going to say this again, and it may be every video, every live that I do that I'm going to end up saying this. Disclosure is so important for your mental health and for your trauma healing. Trauma healing is for your mental health, but again, it does not have to be to another person. Healing from this type of trauma, specifically sexual assault, is best done with a professional who knows what they're talking about. And not every therapist can it really knows about trauma. and or knows about the ins and outs of sexual assault, sexual abuse, the grooming stuff that we were talking about. They deal with just other general aspects of mental health. So if you are looking for a professional, ask questions, okay? Ask questions of that office. Talk to that therapist, whether it's, just on the phone or whether you decide to go into the office. Talk to that person and see what is their background in trauma therapy. Do they have a background? What's their understanding? What are the tools that they like to use? Not only are you going to find out if they're experienced enough to be able to deal with what you have, you're going to see the type of track that they go. Because not everybody's going to deal with it the same way or use the same tools. And it's critical that you are with a therapist that you are comfortable with. Because they can't be asking you to use X, Y, or Z tool. And you're like, yeah, that's just not working for me. And having to try to do a workaround and figuring something else out. And then the therapist is trying to use something that they don't really understand or not used to doing. So interview your therapists before you go and do that initial interview where you end up regurgitating half your life. And you have to do that 14 times for all those new therapists that you talk to. If there's one thing that I have figured out with therapists, interview them first. But if you don't, go to a professional therapist. Come here. Lurk. Just be around others who understand. Soak up the information that I present, that we talk about, that others bring to the table. If that is too much for you, if being a part of this is even too much for you, if you can't disclose to a trusted friend or relative, clergy member, if that's your bag, write it down in your journal. Disclose it to yourself. I say write it down in your journal because some people can be more comfortable with it writing something before speaking it out loud. However, I believe that it is critical that you do speak it out loud. And that can be to the wall. You don't have to speak it to a mirror, so you're speaking to yourself, so you're speaking to another person, You can do that. So if you feel like you're disclosing to another person, maybe that's going to give you the confidence to disclose to somebody else. But talk to the wall. Talk to your cat. Disclose, to Fluffy. But say it out loud. Go back and watch the video I did a little while ago, the live, Words Have Power. There is something about speaking it out loud that makes it real. You're telling your truth. This is why I am the way I am. And say it unashamedly. No shame, no guilt. Because that does not belong on you. You're just stating facts. You're disclosing what happened. And if you need to think about it kind of in the third person, that makes it a little easier the first time, sure, do that. Maybe you can be a little less emotional about it, because some people don't like getting emotional when discussing it, because they can get too emotional and too into it, and then triggering can happen and it leads them on a really bad road. Again, you. Everything I say is guidelines. And please take it as such. But I just feel strongly about saying it out loud. Oh, Shannon, that is so wonderful. I am so glad that your dog is understanding. That's so helpful. That's so helpful. Does he love you if you've been gone for a while? Does he still love you when you come back? I know that my dogs used to. So wonderful, right? If I'm gone too long, like let's say a weekend, or God forbid it would be like 4 days, my cats are pissed. I don't know about you guys who have cats. Life's good, says cat judges. Oh boy, do they. My cat Nietzsche, I had before my son was born, and he would ignore me for the first, I don't know, 3 hours. But he'd let you know he was ignoring you because he would just walk by you and look at you. Just so you knew, he knew you were there, and he was purposely ignoring you. And once he felt like you had been punished enough, then he attached himself to your lap for like 24 hours. You could not get rid of him. Unconditional love is the best. And, cats do have it just in their own special way, right? Oh, yeah. If you're gone 5 minutes, the dog acts like you've been gone years. I know. They're like, where did you go? You could leave the room, right? I used to have an open floor plan. I'd leave the room, walk around the open floor plan, come back, and they were like, oh my God, she's back. Which is just hilarious to me. I still have to take a video of when my son comes home and the cats are out on the upper deck. They go absolutely apeshit. They go bonkers. It's meow meow in stereo because they're both out there. It's hilarious. I got to get that up as a short. Oh, it won't happen tonight because he's out fixing his van. Oh, yeah, that's an announcement for another time. My son has a van now. Whew, work van. It's a work van. His money. I'm supporting him. I'm trying. And I'm really hoping he doesn't lose his shirt. We've done a lot of talking, and we'll just kind of see where it goes from here. But I'll keep you guys posted. Anne says she went out in backyard to check something. She was lucky to get back inside the door before your extremely sighted dog knocked her over. Exactly. They are a trip. They are such a trip. The cats can hear his car coming. I don't know how far away they can actually hear, but each engine, I guess, has a different rumble, has a different sound to it. And so they will start, I can see them start kind of either prancing a little bit or walking back and forth about a minute before he actually comes into view. It's the most amazing thing. Dogs can actually do this as well. I've seen videos where they've done tests with this and filming the dogs from inside, and they're accurate. It's creepy. It's like the dogs who can sniff out cancer. Why are we not using this on everybody? All you got to do is lay there on the floor. They walk around you and they go, nope, you're good. Now, granted, it's for particular types of cancer that they've been able to identify that actually do have a smell. Dogs can pick up on it, and they're able to train these dogs to it. I think every hospital needs to have one. Every doctor's office should have access to one if these are types of cancers that you come into contact with. What a lovely way. She was like, oh my God, you came inside. Yoo-hoo, it's finally time to play. I've been waiting so long. I know. It's just, they're incredible. Seven says mobile car detailing is big in California. The largest deal is for mobile groomers, people to come to you to do your car. Yes, he does have a friend who has a detailing business. I don't know if he's at a place or if he goes to people. He's doing pressure washing right now. But this van, it used to be a work van of some sort. There is nothing in the back except shelving, metal shelving. And it's got an AC adapter in the back as well. So, it's set up to do something, to be a mobile something. So it was wonderful that he figured that out. Oh, is the problem mostly under control, Anne? I'll tell you, if you can feed a barn cat, they're wonderful. We had a barn cat in addition to Nietzsche because my husband at the time just couldn't say no as he went by this farm and it said kittens. My neighbor, no, my neighbor used to use a wood stove. This is how he saved money. But he stacked all his wood right up against the house. What's the number one thing they tell you not to do? And he stacked it all in the garage. And he came over one day and he said, "You know what? Thank you so much for your cat, Buster, because we don't have a single rat anymore." We didn't really see birds anymore either. So that was kind of an issue. But man, they are prolific hunters. They are actually domesticated cats are the number one hunters quantity-wise of all wildlife amongst everything of all the animals. It's just amazing how much they do. You want a cat, but you're concerned the dog will chase it off or hurt it. Well, as long as you introduce it right, usually, and I won't say everybody because every dog is different, obviously, but usually if you introduce them slowly, for the first couple of days, they're very standoffish and the cat's really uncertain. And then they kind of find their peace with each other. At least this is what I experienced with my cats and dogs. And I had St. Bernards, and they were terrified of my cat. Terrified. I had the cat first. Tennyson, who was 200 pounds, literally, this is a 200-pound dog, would not go up the stairs if the cat was on the stairs. And the cat would sit on the stairs just to piss the dog off. This is a 10-pound cat. He could swallow him in one bite. Your dog? Oh my goodness, your dog has caught rats. Wow. Do you have like a schnauzer or a terrier of some sort? Do you have a ratter? Because if you have like a golden retriever, I'm going to say that's just really, really interesting. He thinks they're gifts that get brought inside the house. Yes, the cats did too. Yeah, that was just all the neighbors' cats came to your rats came over to your house once they removed their trees. That is just irritating as heck, isn't it? Oh, that is wonderful. You hear about dogs being trained for so many different things. And your dog was trained to alert for your wife when her blood sugar got low. Yeah, if she was getting shaky or if she passed out or something. My first husband was insulin dependent needle diabetic, so I'm quite familiar with them going hypoglycemic. And that is wonderful. That is wonderful. Yeah, it's just amazing what they can train dogs to do, and the types of companions that they're able to train them to be. Uh, just You have a mobile hairdresser. Wow. Do you have to like go into the van and sit back in the chair? Does she have like the water supply and everything in there, or does she come into your house? I'm just curious. Just because I have this vision of this mobile hairdressing studio. Uh, um, I think Seventh was talking about car detailing. So mobile car detailing. So you come to them, so they don't have to bring. So you don't have to bring your car somewhere. So you could call them up, and they could come to work, and you could get your car detailed. And by the time of work, your car would be. Life's good. I saw you, and I just didn't. And I talked about your stuff, but I just didn't say hi, particularly specifically. So I want to say hi. To anybody who missed it, I am going to attach into the description after the live Kelly Ballew's Cash App. If you do want to provide financial support, that would be greatly appreciated, but please by no means feel that you need to. I am doing this because she's been such a big part of the Lifeboat and being willing to be on all of our other channels and tell her story and talk about herself. And she has had absolutely everything in her life stolen. Her identification, her medication, all her clothes. She has nothing. So if there was ever a cause to put up, this is one of them. But again, do not feel like you have to. Bailey, I love that name for a dog. My roommate in college had that name for a one of her cats, and it's because she worked in a liquor store, so she named all her cats after different brands of liquor. It was an idea. Oh, Kelly Ballew. She goes by Kelly B69. She hasn't been on in a while. She has a channel, but she hasn't been able to update it because of her situation. And she spent time in Georgia State Prison. So you might have seen her on the Lifeboat on with Tommy and Russ talking about her experiences in prison from that aspect, from both a state and from a women's perspective. I had her on here when Tommy was on here. That was the live that we did that was SA trauma versus prison trauma. And she came in and spoke about her experience with women's prisons and SA and just trauma in general and how women dealt with it. So that was, yes, the female inmate. Yeah, that's her. So yeah, I just felt it was such an extreme case that if people wanted to help her out, they can. He was named after Champ Bailey, a diehard Bronco fan. He was orange and white. That's wonderful. It's hilarious how we name our animals, where the names come from. I mean, some people, are doing Spots and Fluffy and those types of things, and other people name them, like real names, like Chris. And it's like, well, okay, different, but that's how they do it. Kelly right now is back at her son's place. She was able to apply for income-based housing. So her application is in. So that is good news. Kelly is in Georgia. Wait, is she in Virginia right now? She lost absolutely everything. The guy who she rented the room from took the money, then got a personal protection order, restraining order against her, said that she was going to harm him, and the police wouldn't let her in for 3 days. And in that 3 days, he stole absolutely everything she had moved in. to her room. So her clothes, her medication, her identification. He is now even taking the mail that was diverted to that place. He's taken absolutely everything. So she has been relying on, the kindness of people to build back up again. Yeah, it's kind of like being in a fire. And then she did have some issues with her son as well. I will figure out how she has a Facebook post that talks about this more in terms of beware of this person, because he's continually, he's also, even though they're trying to, I think she's trying to work with police to have something done. I'm not really sure why he hasn't been arrested for burglary. But he's still doing ads for, rent a room type of thing, and still trying to scam more people. So they want to make sure that nobody else is caught by this guy, caught in his web. That would be great. That would be great. I'm sure she would love to hear from you. Life's good. I'm sure she would love to hear from you. You after the hurricane, Shannon says, yeah, exactly. It's just devastating. There's no other word for it, right? Virginia. Okay. Yeah, I went Georgia because that's where she was in prison. But then I was like, wait a minute. I think the living situation is Virginia. So yes. Yep. She's in Virginia. Yep. So yeah, both of you guys are right. Seventh, you are right. There is nothing better than the smell of a baby. People, when they say, what is the best smell? They're going to give you one of two things, generally. Baby smell, new car smell. Amazing. There was actually the ionizer or whatever that they put cars through to get that new car smell. And a dealership actually had one on there. And, it was something that you could do a detailing, but you could also just do that. And I don't remember how much they charged, but what a great idea. I don't know why more dealerships don't have this and offer this. How many people who smoked or just had messy kids had somebody throw up in the car, or it's just an older car and maybe they're buying it used and would love to have that new car smell back. I bet people would pay. I have no idea how much it is to, put one up. Bacon is a solid third. That would actually have to be my number 2. A new car smell would fall into third. But baby smell, there's just nothing like that baby smell. I think because it's, it's also the new beginnings, the hope, the everything that a baby represents. Situation aside, just everything that new life represents. Oh, that's good, Anne. Why guys like women who wear leather? She smells like a new truck. Oh, that is wonderful. That is wonderful. And you will have to be there when we talk about fetish night, because my friend went in leather pants. Oh, and so you'll have to tell that to the greater community. That is just that's hilarious. Well, guys, I am going to try and get a little more work done, just because we did not get started until really late. So I am going to cut this off right now. It was so glad being able to just chat with you. As soon as I end the stream, though, I will put Kelly's Cash App up, and I will email it to Spanx to see if he's going to do anything with it. So you can possibly look for it over there as well. That will be up to him, though. I have no idea what he wants to do. If you want to spread the word amongst yourselves, that's up to you, each and every one of you individually. Okay. This is not a must. This is not a charity thing that we're gathering together, that we're, come on guys, all pile it in and it's totally individual decisions, individual determinations. We're not going for a monetary goal at all or anything. It's just whatever you want and or can put in. All right. Anne, 7th, Shannon. Life's good. I am so sorry. I don't know your actual name. What is your actual name? Life's good. If you share it. If you do not, and you only go by your screen name, that is fine too. Because I will just call you Good. Because I'm all about one syllables. 7th, Ben. And I think that's it, who is still here, who was talking to us. I believe everybody else had dropped off. Diane. Oh my goodness, you're the 3rd Diane we have. We'll have to, we're going to have to figure out something with that. So when referencing Diane, when we have larger, when we have a larger chat, you might need to be specific. You will see that my name is no longer Sharon on the screen. It is Mac, because we have Shannon, who is in the chat now, but we also have a Sharon that is in the chat. And it was getting confusing when people were calling out and talking, and we didn't know if they're talking to me or there's somebody in the chat. And sometimes people were meeting Shannon and they said Sharon, and I just said, you know what, we're just going with my nickname. So here and on Surviving the Cracks, I will be using my nickname from here on out. So I will be known as Mac. Is this a child, Anne, who's turning 17, or a kitty cat? Because if you have a dog who's turning 17, that is wow. Grandchildren. Am I right? Grandchildren? Wow. Oh boy. Hey, Janet, you're just in time for me to leave. Yes, granddaughter. Okay, cool. Janet, quick recap. I will do, you can listen to the replay. The first 40 minutes, 45 minutes are me just speaking about grooming, child grooming in particular. And it's a basic overview. I didn't go real in depth into any of the stages, but just kind of a basic in terms of what we can expect if things hit home for you. We did have some people leave because it was a little too triggering, and that was totally okay. I announced that Spanx is collecting names for the greater Ripple community. So if you have any suggestions, sober@myyahoo.com, email him with any and all names you have. Also for logos, if you have an idea for colors or the way it should look, because I'm sure we'll end up going with the letters of whatever is chosen. So yeah, either one of those, if you've got ideas, toss them out to him. He is the gatekeeper of those. And then the other major thing that I'm going to put up is, as soon as I click off here, is Kelly Ballou. I'm not sure if you remember her. She is one who spent time as a inmate in Georgia correctional facility. And she has been on both the lifeboat and here talking about her experiences in the Georgia prison. She moved out of her son's house, rented a room. Long story short, that person she rented from stole everything that was in that room. Her clothes, her medication, her identification, her mail, literally everything. So she walked out with what she had, her phone, thankfully, and moved back into her son's temporarily. We're hoping. Um, so I am going to put her Cash App in the description. It is totally up to each and every individual person as to whether they want to use that to send her something to help her financially to be able to replace some of the items that she's lost. Phone charger is one of the top ones on her list. And she's chomping at the bit to get her Lifeboat subscription back, and be a part of everything again. And she misses you guys, and she wanted me to tell you that, and that she can't wait until she's back communicating with all of us in our chats on a daily basis. But I said, keep her in her prayers. You love Kelly. I do too. And we just, it's just such a shame. There's somebody who's just working so hard to get a leg up in life and just has gotten knocked down at every turn lately, it seems. I also just gave a quick update on Night Mary, Night Shannon, 7th, Diane, Anne. I think I got everybody else. Jenna, I just gave a quick update on Jen. For yesterday, she went to the hospital for her pain, for her fibro pain, and she did get some medication. It's working wonderfully. She's feeling much, much better. And the hope is then we will be doing our fetish night interview on Saturday night. Heaven willing, right? Depending on how things go, we may have to move it to Friday. We may have to move it a little earlier in the day. It just kind of all depends on her right now. Hoping that with the medication that all of the symptoms will subside again and she'll be back to normal and able to work and do all that. So, Ben, you can always just sit and listen. That's okay. And it'll just come to you. I swear to goodness. Think about the things that you like. Really, it's the easiest way to do something. Either a topic that you're passionate about talking about, or an art or a craft that you like doing. Like some people just get on and do what they do. They just play music, or they just sew and talk about anything, their life, the day, whatever, but they're just sewing away, and that's their thing. And they'll show you what they've done when they're, finished. This is their creation that they've made. So just kind of start exploring those ideas. It could be something to do with your grandchildren, some sort of connection that you have there, something that you do for them or you like doing with them, or, just explore everything. And it'll come to you one day. I know this did. I just said, you know what? I've got to do it. I've been thinking about how to help. And the ripple started going. And I think, yeah, exactly. I was looking at those today. It's funny that you mentioned that. So yeah, that would be interesting to have that as kind of like the background. Yeah. Shoot Spanx an email. Suggest it. Absolutely. Night, Anne. Take care. All right, Janet. I will look for your email. I may or may not be up. It just kind of depends. My son is still out, and I really want to stay up until he gets home. So we'll see. So that's everybody. So good night, guys. Remember, you are worthy. You are valued. You are strong because you are a survivor, and you're loved. So with hugs and much love from me, bye everyone. Bye Ben. Bye Janet.